Welcome. Today we're going to be talking about life after high school. Thank you everyone for being here. We're going to discuss college, jobs, gap year, and more. So no matter what you're thinking about, this presentation will give you a better idea of your options and help you start making a plan. Senior year goes by fast. Between classes and activities and deadlines, it really can sneak up on you. That's why it's really important to start planning now. You'll have more choices and less stress. I've seen this with my own kids, who I will reference throughout this presentation, as I generally do throughout all of my presentations. Waiting too long can really limit your options. Whether you're looking at college or apprenticeships or even taking a gap year, starting early puts you in control of your options. So you've got a lot of paths to choose from. You've got four-year colleges, community colleges, trade schools, the military, taking a gap year, or jumping right into the world of work. There is no right choice, just what's right for you. And what you want now might not be what you want in a few years, and that is okay. And like I said, I reference my kids. So my older son, Aiden, all he wanted was to go far away to school, and he wanted to go somewhere really cold. That I did not understand. Once he got to school, he was really happy there, but then the first time he got sick, he wanted to come home. And he couldn't. He was just too far from home, and he had the flu, so he wasn't going anywhere. That one event actually changed his entire outlook. So I want you to really think about, when you're deciding about what you want to do, also think about where you want to do it. Four-year colleges and universities, there are many. A four-year college can offer great opportunities. They can offer internships and networking options, as well as career support. But you've got to find the right fit. You've got to think about location, which I just referred to you before, the cost of the school, and their academic programs, as well as their social life. So going back to Aiden, Aiden had applied to a bunch of schools that he actually didn't really care about, but he felt like he should apply. He thought it was the appropriate schools for him to apply to. That's a huge waste of time and money. So you want to be really thoughtful about where you apply. You don't want to just cast a wide net and see what takes. Do your research now. Look into schools, go on visits, read about them in different social media platforms. Get as much information as you can before making that decision. Keep in mind, even if you think you know what you want to study, things change. Aiden, my older son, switched majors multiple times during college. And now he works in a field that has nothing to do with what he studied in college, and he loves it. In fact, it actually has nothing to do what he studied in graduate school either. College is honestly as much about figuring out who you are and what you like as it is about earning your degree. There are also community college options. For us, it would be Montgomery College. Montgomery College is a great option. It is affordable, there are smaller classes, and it has solid transfer program options. You can save a ton by starting here, or you can just earn a degree or a certificate and head straight into the world of work. We have a close family friend whose child wanted to work in the medical field, but didn't want to spend 4 years in college and then have to go through medical school as well. She went into their sonography program at Montgomery College, and she's in the middle of it and loving it. And at this point, she is so excited about pursuing a career and knowing that she gets to be finished in just another year. There are lots of options. It doesn't necessarily mean a 4-year degree must be it. As far as researching colleges, which is what I referred to before, there are lots of ways to do that. Naviance is one of the tools that we encourage students to use here at Quince Orchard High School and within Montgomery County Public Schools. Naviance can help you keep up with deadlines, tracking applications, and reading up on the school. It also helps you look into careers and scholarships. So if you haven't logged in yet, you want to make sure that you can do that before the end of your junior year. So how many schools should I apply to? I get asked this all the time, every year for as many years as I've been doing this. There's really no perfect number. Generally, 5 to 7 is usually a good range. You want to miss a mix of reach schools, which are more competitive, but they are a possibility. Target schools where you and your credentials, your data is a solid match for their incoming class in their averages that is located probably on their website. And likely or safety schools where your chances of getting in are very strong. However, I will say again, only apply to schools you'd actually consider going to. Don't apply just because someone else is or because it's well known. Applying to 15 schools sounds ambitious, but it is overwhelming. There are lots of essays and fees and follow-ups and portals. There is a lot involved in applying to 15 and higher schools. So remember Aiden, he applied to several schools he didn't really care about, and it ended up becoming more stressful than helpful. So don't do that for yourself. Make sure that every school on your list is one you're genuinely excited about. Trade schools. So if you like hands-on learning and want to get into the workforce sooner, trade schools or apprenticeships are an amazing path. There are jobs in healthcare and information technology and skilled trades like automotive or construction that pay very well, and the careers in those areas are in demand. Many apprenticeships even pay you while you learn. And when I bring up trade schools, I always think of a retired electrician of mine who was our electrician for many years. And here, myself and my husband have probably, I think, 6 degrees between the two of us. Our electrician had multiple homes. He had a solid career. He lived very comfortably, probably more comfortably than I will ever see financially. So you don't need multiple degrees in 4-year universities or grad schools to live well financially. There are lots of options. What is most important is that you pursue what your interest is, what is right for you. Another option is military service. So the military does offer great benefits. There is education, job training, leadership experience. If you're looking for structure and service and a possible long-term career, the military could be a great option. So whether you enlist after high school or go the ROTC route, it's worth exploring if any of that is appealing to you. And then there's a gap year. So taking a gap year also can be really valuable as an experience for students as they are coming of age and thinking about what it is they want to do. Traveling, volunteering, all of that can help you grow and figure things out. What I will say about a gap year is you want to make sure that you have a plan. And that's what I've said from the beginning. Do your homework now. Don't just say, I'm going to take a year off, because that year comes very quickly. And then all of a sudden you may find yourself not sure what to do with that year. And then it could end up being just a year. And you want to make this year, if it's a gap year, as valuable to you as possible. So it shouldn't just be taking time off. It should be using that time intentionally. Entering the workforce. So if you are looking to go straight into a job, that is a totally valid path. Some fields offer great pay and on-the-job training, and some companies will even help you pay for college later. You may also find that you want to work while you're going to school or have internships while you're in school. This is where I'll bring up my younger son, Eli. He was always very interested in getting out into the workforce. So when he started college, he immediately started applying and securing internships and jobs. this experience in jobs and internships allowed him to actually build connections with people in possible areas of field that were interesting to him that could actually make a difference as he went through college and looked for more opportunities. So please keep in mind, a job isn't just a job. You learn about an area of a career, but you also make contacts with people, and those contacts can help you as you progress in your career. So going back to Eli, so Eli started college and always wanted to work. So he was working every semester at an internship or at a job. So this past fall, he started trying to find a job for this coming summer. And he ended up getting actually 4 opportunities. However, the way it worked out was he would get one, he'd accept it, and then because of the changing political and economic climate, he would lose that one because of those situations. And then he was able, using his contacts that he had built through different opportunities, get another one. So right now he just started his 4th actual job offer, and he loves it. And in the end, I'm hoping the 4th one was probably the most appropriate for him. I am grateful, though, that he made all those connections early on, because had he not, when he lost his first one, it would have been very difficult for him to find another one. Financial aid. So paying for your education can be very pricey. And there is financial aid that can help. So that would include grants and scholarship and work study and loans. It's important to fill out the FAFSA, and we will have a presentation on that in the fall. It's important to fill it out early. It opens doors to opportunities for financial assistance. And things are always changing with the FAFSA, so you want to make sure you stay on top of it. As far as scholarships are in abundance, and oftentimes students don't realize how much money is out there. You can get a scholarship for almost anything: academics, sports, hobbies. I've even seen some for height and for left-handedness. You want to start looking early. You can use Naviance. You can connect with our college and career coordinator, Ms. Romero, and she has a ton of resources and websites to help you find the right scholarship. I encourage kids and students to see looking for scholarships as almost an 8th class in their day if they have a full 7-period day. I encourage them to go to the College and Career Center once a week and apply for scholarships every week. The more scholarships you apply for, the more likely it is that you will get money towards your college. Another thing I want to make sure you understand: scholarships can also be used by colleges as a marketing tool. So you may end up getting information in the mail that says, oh, you qualify for $10,000 a year, or oh, you qualify for $15,000 a year. That's great. And what it should do is it should start you looking at the school, because oftentimes those scholarships are specific to an actual university. They're not just a general one that you can use for any university, which is why I say they're sort of a marketing tool. I had a recent student who received a major scholarship that actually cut the cost of the tuition in half for the university. What was important for that student was to see how much that university actually cost to begin with, because even if you're cutting it in half, a $90,000 a year school cut in half is still a $45,000 a year school. So when you get scholarship like marketing, that often these are, it's important to use it to start looking into the school and see if it actually is an appropriate school for you, if it has your major, if you like where it's located, if their social life is what you want, and what the cost of attendance currently is. The FAFSA. So this again is something that I referred to briefly before. It's a government tool to allow schools for you to get money to go to universities. What's most important is you want to keep on top of when the FAFSA deadline is, and then you want to make sure you apply well before that deadline. The CSS profile. So some private colleges ask students to fill out the CSS profile in addition to the FAFSA. It's going to give the school a more detailed look at a student's family finances so they can decide on what appropriate financial aid is needed. Not every school uses it, mostly private ones, so double check for each school on your list. Even though the FAFSA rollout has been a bit confusing in the last maybe 12 to 18 months, do not skip the FAFSA. It's really important to stay updated and complete it early, as I said for the previous slide. So if you need help, you want to talk to your counselor or Ms. Romero, and they can help you going through the FAFSA. So again, the more you know, the better chances of getting the aid you need. So you want to start all of these financial aid process and tools early. So what tests should you take? This is another question that I get asked frequently. Some students will just do better on one test than the other. So what I encourage is to take practice tests of both the ACT and the SAT and see which one you do better at. You want to keep in mind that there are many schools that are still test optional, so you only want to send scores if they help your application. There are also plenty of test prep options. My older son took a class at Montgomery College, and my younger son did online Khan Academy. I will tell you that my older son, with the class and the formal discussion and questions in the in-person setting, would have probably been great for someone else, but my older son used it to make lots of pictures, really pretty pictures, one of which I actually still have up on my wall, ironically, but did not learn much about taking the SAT. And so I learned from that. So the younger one, I sat with Eli and I said, what format is going to work best for you? And he said using Khan Academy would work best for him, and it did. He actually was able to improve his score pretty significantly by getting on Khan Academy every week and taking practice tests and getting questions in areas that he was struggling in. You want to pick what works for you. You don't want to just hear, oh, that's a great class, go take it. You want to think about, what is my learning style? How will I learn best and practice best for these tests? So there are registration deadlines. It's really important to meet the deadlines. This is not the same as maybe our school due dates and deadlines. These are hard deadlines. If you miss them, you miss them, or you may end up having to pay a fee for missing them. Okay. So tools for application. So besides Naviance, you definitely want to check out schools' websites. Often they will give virtual tours. They give you information about the average GPAs of their previous incoming freshman class, and they'll give you admission checklists. Sites like Big Future, Niche, and CapX are also great for comparing schools and figuring out what matters to you, like campus size or campus vibe, the cost, support service, all of that. So there are lots of ways to learn about the school in addition to going out and seeing it. Now, I am a big fan of stepping on a campus. What I will tell you and what I tell all my students is, if you are interested in schools all over the country and that is a feasible option for you and your family, sometimes it is not a feasible option to get on a plane and be going out to all these different schools as you prepare for your list of total schools you're applying to. What I always encourage is go to the schools that are near you. Take a 2-hour radius and do a lot of road trips to different schools. The more schools you see, the more you'll understand what you're looking at, and the better you will be in making a decision at what works for you. So again, for both of my children, I took them to schools in the area. They really understood what was important to them when they saw what was available. And that way, when they went onto websites of schools that they were applying to that were too far for us to tour at that time while they were picking their list, they could go through the website and they had enough understanding of what they were looking for to make decisions based on whether that school was appropriate or not. The next tool talking about with colleges is how to apply. So there is the Common App, the Common Black College application, and the Coalition app. So the Common App lets you apply to multiple schools with one main application. Over 1,000 schools use it. You would fill out your information once, and then you add in the school-specific essays or school-specific questions. I do always encourage kids to do all the supplemental essay questions. Do not leave anything out. You want to use these applications as your opportunity to give schools as much information as you can about yourself. So also start early. You want to start looking at the applications on Common App and Common Black College app and the Coalition app to see what's there, and you can start preparing early. So like I said, the Common App, you can apply to over 1,000 schools. It is the most common. What I will tell you is if you have a choice between Common App and Coalition app, do the Common App. That is going to be the one that there has been in process for many, many years, and I think you will have the most success with. So wherever possible, use the Common App. The Common Black College application, you can apply to more than 60 historically Black colleges and universities, HBCUs, with one application and only $20 to apply to all of them. A couple of years ago, I actually had a student who I think applied to 20. So again, that is not what I encourage because I want to make sure you're doing your research prior to the application. However, it worked for him. He applied to all of these for $20 and he ended up picking one of them and it worked out well. So that is another tool. And then the last one was the Coalition. And what I will say again is you want to make sure if Coalition and Common App are offered, you use the Common App. So in this presentation, I am skipping over many of the slides, but it is on our website. So you can go back and you can look through at more detailed information like such. There's a chart here that you can go through and see the information. FERPA. So now we're going to talk about what we need and what you need to do in order to make sure that your application at schools are complete. So when you're filling out your applications, you'll see something called the FERPA. It's a law that protects your school records. You're going to be asked if you want to waive your right to see your recommendation letters. We usually suggest you do that. Colleges are going to view so there's a couple of pieces of that. So you waive your right so that we can send your information, like your transcript, but you're also waiving your right to see our letter of recommendation. Colleges want to see that you've waived your right because they want to know that when I write my letter, my counselor letter of recommendation for you, for your college application, I'm not writing it for your eyes. I'm giving them my honest and objective opinion about how you did in school and what all of your strengths are and what you bring with you to their campus and their student body. Please know, no one is going to write you a poor letter of recommendation. We will just not write you a letter of recommendation. We would not agree to it if we could not say something positive. So I know that that is concerning to saying you're waiving your right. I do want you to understand it in as far as letters of recommendation, teachers, counselors, we are always going to present you in the best possible light, using everything that you have done to show them who you are, what you've been on our campus, and what you could be on their campus. Requesting teacher recommendations. So our goal is for you to have picked teachers, 2 teachers in academic areas, to write you a letter of recommendation before the end of your junior year. You don't want to be asking teachers at the start of senior year. Most teachers are asked in the junior year, and so they have a limit of how many they are willing to write. When you approach a teacher, what's important is you approach the teacher face to face. And again, you want to give them at least 4 to 5 weeks, but I prefer you do this in the junior year, so you're well ahead of the 4 to 5 weeks. And you want to ask them if it's okay for them, if they are able to write you a letter of recommendation for college. If they say yes, you can then ask them, what do you need from me to write that letter of recommendation? And they may have their own questionnaire, or they may have their own idea of what they need from you. If they just say, tell me some information, what I always tell students, and I told my own kids, is provide them with why you asked them, what class it was, and what you got out of that class, who you are and how you're different because of the class, because of the subject matter, because of them as a teacher. I, as a teacher, would want to get all of that information from you so I could say, oh, this is what they liked about my class. This is what they did well. This is now what kind of student they are because of the class. This is now how they approach learning. All that information can help me write an even more specific letter of recommendation for you. You also want to make sure that you give them all the information well in advance of when it's due. And if you are asking them, like I'm encouraging, prior to the summer, you may want to reach out to them as it gets closer to the school year to confirm that they are writing the letter, but really more importantly of when they need the information by, and if there's anything else they need it, and then provide them with all of your schools that you're applying to and the due dates. Once you have the teachers identified, in August, we can then start putting those identified teachers in your Naviance account. And you can do it online, like using this presentation as a guide. You can also come see your counselor. You can also go see Miss Romero in the College Career Center. Often I have students who will see me during August, seniors, and we'll sit together. Maybe I'll sit with 4 or 5 of them, and we can get this part done. It's very quick. Usually it takes maybe less than 5 minutes. Transcript requests. So colleges need your transcripts, and that's another reason you are signing the FERPA that allows us to send your transcript. So if you don't request a transcript and then your deadline is done, that's it, it's over. So it's really important that you request the transcript using the rules that we set forth so that we can ensure all of your colleges receive your transcripts by the deadline. So I ask that my students fill out the transcript Google request form at least a month before their application is due. What this will mean is that in the fall, I will send out, and we as a counseling department will send out a Google form, and it says, here's the form. When you know that you have your list of schools, go in and fill it out. You want to make sure, again, that you do this as soon as possible, because when I get notification that you have filled out that Google form, it's like a bell goes off for me. I then make sure that I have your transcript ready. I make sure that I have your letter of recommendation ready. I have the secondary school report ready, and I have any other reports that I am sending to your school. The more time you give me, the more I can ensure that I am meeting all of your deadlines. Counselor letters of recommendation. So this is another really important step. As a counselor, I like to write a letter of recommendation that really lets the school know who you are and what you have done at our school, outside of school, in the summers, in the afternoons, anything that I can let them know I want to. Because although your application will have lots of places for you to add information about what you bring to them, you can't put everything, but that's where I come in. I will try and put everything. I'm going to try and say, you know what, they did this and they did that, and they were also, on this committee and this club, and in the summer they had this experience. I'm going to try and put everything in there. And in order to do that, I need you to fill out this junior questionnaire. So for my students and for everybody, you should have already received it or been linked to where it is. I have my own questionnaire because, again, I make my letters really thorough, and I have sent that out. When I get questionnaires back, and maybe you're giving me a one-sentence answer, or sometimes I've had students who give me like 4 or 5 words, that won't help me much. I want as much information as you're willing to give me, because the more details you give me, the more detailed your letter can be. Now, in saying that, I also make sure I let students know, do not tell me anything that you don't want in your letter. I write a lot of letters over the summer, and when I go through these questionnaires and I make notes on them, I am not going to know if there's something that you don't want in the letter, but you just wanted me to know. I may not see that part. I may be going through it and get, on one area and think, oh, I really should mention this because they did. Don't put it in there. Do not put anything in the letter that you don't want. In the questionnaire that you don't want in the letter. That's a very important point. And a lot of students are very open, and that's great. And I encourage you to be so. Again, the more I can show them how strong you are and resilient you are, and what a good learner, and how you learn from mistakes and how you grow from mistakes, the better. So if you have a question about what you might want to put in the questionnaire, come see me or come see your counselor and say, I'm not sure if I want this in the letter. Can I talk it through with you? Or talk it through with your caregivers. But be very careful and specific and intentional about what goes on that questionnaire. Okay, so responsibilities. So what you're responsible for, students are the drivers of this entire process. They are the ones who do the test prep. They are the ones who take the test. They are the ones who identify schools. They're the ones who ask their teachers for letters of recommendation, who fill out the questionnaire, who fill in the application, who make sure that it is turned in by the deadline, who take the test, who determine whether they want the school to have the test, or maybe they want to go test optional if the school offers it. This is their show. What we do is we will provide resources, we will submit your transcripts, and we will help you understand the process if you have any questions. But understand, this is the students, this is their show. And of course, I say that having 2 students two former high school students who've already been through this process, and it was very difficult for me to stay hands off and let them do it. However, what I learned is the more I put my words in, the less they were thinking about what they wanted. The more I let them really explore, the more they could determine what worked for them. And ultimately, that's what I wanted. I wanted my children to go to schools that worked for them. So caregivers, again, supporting students is great, and reading essays is great, and reviewing applications is invaluable because you will often see things that they didn't see. You want to make sure that the ideas are theirs and the likes and dislikes are theirs. That is important. And this kind of led me into the essay area because I mentioned when you go through their essays and proofread it. So years ago, we had a student who submitted an application, very strong student, submitted an application and an essay, and then the college rep called the counselor here and said, everything looks great. Application, everything is great. My concern is there were definitely some typos in this. There were some misspelled words, and there were definitely, clearly a grammar check was not used. This concerned them, not because, yes, everybody makes mistakes, but it concerned them because they felt like maybe the student didn't take the time needed to have someone else look at their information, look at that essay, make sure it made sense, look at their applications, make sure that the sentences were clear, that nothing was misspelled. That's really important. You want to make it seen. You want to show that you're taking the time needed, that this is important. And when you have errors in an application or an essay, sometimes it will show that it's not as important. And then my next comment, which is about the essay in specific, I get a lot of students who want us to read their essays. So I end up reading a lot of essays about students' traumatic experiences or students who have gone through something that definitely changed who they were as a person. What I end up seeing is the student goes through in a description of that event or that group of events or something that had is something that they live with, so maybe a health issue, and they talk about it in detail. Colleges get a lot of that. What we're told is that's not what they want to see. They want to understand what happened or what you're living with. But what they want to know is how that changed you. Who are you because of it? Because of this, I do this in school. Because this happened to me, this is the kind of student I am. This is the kind of person I will be as part of your student body on your campus. This is how I take care of myself, which translates to this kind of person in a classroom setting. They are interested in what happened, but more than that, they are interested in how it changed you and who you are because of it. So please don't spend all of your essay, all of those words that they give you, the 600 word count, on what happened. Talk about who you are because of it. Okay, so we are going to be having Rising Senior meetings, and you will be getting an email from your counselor regarding those, and that's just to make sure that we are all on the same page as we go into senior year. And then these are all the counseling. And so the rest of this presentation you can go through on your own. There are resources in here to help as you prepare. What I want you to understand is that the more you plan and research and get organized now, the easier this process will be. It will be stressful. There's no way around it. We can't reduce the stress. And honestly, as an educator and as a parent, I don't want to reduce the stress because I want my students to be able to experience stress and work through it, and especially work through it while they're still in my home and I can support them so that when they go off to college, they're not all of a sudden confronted with very stressful situations for the first time. I want them to meet stress and work through it. So I will say this is going to be a stressful situation. Now, what helps the stress, like I said, research, planning, organization. Those are really important. Another thing that's important to understand is things change. Things change. I say that all the time, and I don't think, especially parents or caregivers of students who are just starting this process and they don't have older siblings that have gone through it. Things change between junior year and the summer. Things change between the beginning summer and the end of the summer. Things change between the end of summer and January, and then from January to graduation. Things change. And teaching students how to pivot and how to follow their interests and not be deterred by change and what the change could mean to the whole process is invaluable. So I will give you this last story, and I'm not sure if I already mentioned it, so if I did, sorry for repeating myself. So it's an Eli story. So Eli, my younger son, had a school that he thought would be perfect, and he also had a career path he thought would be perfect. He was thinking at the end of junior year, He was going to go to law school. He was a very strong student in college and high school, and he's always just been that strong student. So that wasn't out of for him to already know that he was going off to graduate school. So he said he needed a school that had the 3-and-3 program, 3 for undergrad and 3 for law school. He knew exactly what he wanted. He knew where he wanted it to be. He knew what he wanted from the school. So we researched and we found a school. He thought it was his dream school. We went and visited. He fell in love with it. He then started pursuing the school's admissions and financial aid and even professors in the area of his interest, almost bombarding on sort of the border of harassing them because he so much wanted to go. And what I had told him was that school is just too expensive. I am not going to be able to wing it. And for me, one of the more important things for the kids was that they would come out of school debt-free. And I knew what I could contribute, and I did not want them to have any debt. That was very important to me. So that was something that was a no discussion with the kids. So Eli understood he had to get as much aid as he possibly could. So he did all of this constant reaching out, and he finally got the aid he wanted. This school was cheaper than if he had went to University of Maryland. It was completely doable. We had said, great, he already got the law school admission. Everything was perfect. It checked off all the boxes until it didn't. And then suddenly, I guess it was around January, and it was a rolling admission school, so he had already gotten all of his acceptance. So come January, he decided he did not want to do the school. And so he ended up accepting his admission to a school that didn't have some of the things that he was looking for and didn't have a lot of the things that he said he wanted. But something in him said that's the right school. And so he went, and I'm leaving all the schools nameless. He went to that school and he just dove right in, and he did his Eli. He immediately started doing internships and jobs and reaching out and making connections with professors at this school and getting involved in what graduate opportunities were there, and decided no, he did not want law school. What he wanted was to get a master's in business. And he looked at how he could do that with a 3-and-2. I guess it was 3-and-2 or 3-and-1. And that's what he did. And it became the perfect place for him. And it worked out well. I would never have known that it was going to work out this well. I had to have faith in Eli. And Eli had tremendous faith in Eli. What I always stressed to them was change is okay. Change can be good as long as it's change that you are pursuing and is honoring what you want and who you are. And that's what I would encourage. Just because students say, oh, this is it, this is where I want to be, that may not work. And all of a sudden they may change, and that is okay. So it's okay through this process to pivot. It is okay to trust your instincts. It is okay to follow a path that may twist and turn. That is all okay. What is important is there is always a plan, it is organized, and it is researched. So that concludes my discussion for the presentation for our rising seniors. If you have any questions, please reach out to your counselor or our College and Career Center. Thank you. Bye-bye.